Focus on the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then it feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in on March 10th, 2022, and Amazon just announced a stock split. It is not a rumor. It is finally confirmed. The stock is up 10% after hours. The last time they did this was 1999, and the stock market went down afterwards. But still, big news. A lot of people are talking about this. There was this. You got more updates on another commodity, uranium. We're going to talk about that, and we have a couple of plays there. But overall, today was a wild day, and it is one of the biggest bounces that you have seen in over a year or two now. But pretty much last time we bounced like this, it was March 2020. So I'm going to jump here to the pretty picture, and you can take a look. This is going back since 2020. Again, this is the day that we surpassed. Again, it was a killer day. Even overseas, Europe, it was actually pretty nutty. But you can see here, this was after the first big bounce. Then we dropped pretty big, and then we went up, and then it was a wrap. Inflation, hot money, everything else in between. But today was big. You saw a lot of things happen globally, and honestly, there is a lot of updates because there's still a little bit more confusion. And now, best of all, we have the CPI and a catalyst tomorrow. So we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to go over all of that, everything that happened in the market today, the plays that we made, and I got a couple of ones that are pretty interesting, and then the plays for the rest of the week. So drop your thumbs up on the video if you find it helpful, and big shout out if you've been showing love. And then if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/thestockmarket. We will see you there in the morning. But today was wild. Like we said, it was the biggest rally, but it was very hard to put your finger on what was the cause. We started off in the morning, and this kind of pissed some people off. The headline was literally, quote, everything is priced in. The future started going up, oil started going down, and there was like 5 different oil moves. And surprisingly, not surprisingly, today was the biggest down day in oil ever. Again, we just witnessed some of the bigger ones, and I'm going to jump here to a chart to recognize the moves with commodities. And again, this is not typical, but so far with everything we're seeing, this Russia impact, it is the 5th largest oil disruption ever, pretty much since World War II. So a lot of people are talking about this. You probably noticed the commodities, but that was a big part of today. They came down. We were talking about kind of searching for that temporary top, and it came in, but that's what we saw. Europe literally went up 8%, but now the things that could have been positive, and this is why I'm saying there was a lot of back and forth. We heard nothing from Putin. Some people were saying it's allowing to set up the human corridor and keep it safe. There was updates, and there was a Ukrainian update today, and it said that they were willing to compromise, but that was one of the advisors reiterating one of the statements on Monday that Zelensky said. So there was a lot of back and forth. You took it positive, then news would come out, and then guess what? Same exact thing happened with OPEC. Believe it or not, the OPEC thing is borderline kind of a rumor today. Again, if you've seen any of the crazy oil moves, you should be somewhat used to this, but literally, this is how the timeline played out. We heard the news that the UAE was refusing to accept any of Joe Biden's phone calls, and then we open up the morning with this saying that the UAE says that OPEC should boost output, and then people are like, wait, I thought this and that. That means the Saudis are going to get into it, add more oil, but this is how it played out. It was Yusuf Al-Otaiba, the UAE's ambassador to Washington. He's the one who said that, but then a few hours later, the energy minister, Suhail Al-Marraza, I'm Middle Eastern, I still can't say it, man, this is sad, but he said that the UAE is committed to the OPEC agreement, kind of tempering it and saying, yo, we've already agreed on this. So there was back and forth, and I believe they said that the UAE hadn't consulted other OPEC members before the ambassador made his statement. So a little bit of that back and forth. Again, if you've been ever following oil or OPEC land. We've seen this before. Oh, wait, you didn't even see it. Here's the headline. This is what I was showing the whole time. So here's the actual tweet. And again, this is the quote and everything else, but it was a lot of stuff that happened there. But there was that. We already went over the pretty picture, but again, today was very difficult to put your hand on it, but it was bullish. It got us there a little bit off the bottom, but again, if you notice the premiums, commodities, they went down, but they are still very well up. Even the put plays, some of them went down, but a lot of things are still holding. So that's what we're going to keep our eyes on for the next few days. But like we said, tomorrow is going to be the CPI, and this is going to be important. Again, the last CPI, February 10th, that derailed every single form of bounce after earnings we had, and then the Russia stuff started coming in, so it's pretty safe to say that we may get something like that. Again, here was February 9th, the day before the Fed. That's like us today, or excuse me, the Fed CPI, but February 10th was the CPI, and then everything really got crazy from there. So we've talked about it a lot here. I even had it written down there on the keys, but what you need to watch for tomorrow is how high does the CPI come in, but what is the shape of the curve? Everybody knows the CPI is going to be high, and everybody knows the next CPI after this is going to be even higher because of what we're seeing, but that's why now it's all dependent on how much higher we come above expectations. Tomorrow, it is expected at 7.8, but the higher this goes up, the curve in the trajectory, it starts to become vertical, and if you know next month is going to be a real doozy, well, that's where people will start to react. So last time it was a 1% reaction. That's what we're going to have to look out for. And on top of it, we brought this up again here today, the Fed futures. I'm going to be watching this tomorrow because I want to see it did go down another day. And this is now getting to the point of when we had the first big drops again. I think February 10th. Last time it kind of bottomed out, it was the last CPI and came up from there. So I don't think any of these dates are coincidence, and look at it. But like I'm saying, if this moves the bonds or anything, this is a big signal, and especially coming into Powell, it may even give us a week ahead of time. So we will see what happens. But as far as the company news and events, this was a big one here today. It's going to relate here to some of the plays, but the U.S. said they are weighing sanctions on the Russian uranium supplier Rosatom. Hopefully I'm saying that one right. But Russia does provide around 40% of the world's uranium supply and or the refiner. So I don't know if it's the refinery, if they actually refine the uranium, and that's what they're responsible for. Again, they still have a pretty big impact, but a lot of people started reacting to this. A lot of people are saying this has big consequences because, believe it or not, it's still all tied to energy, even gas prices, especially what is going on with Europe. So if we do get confirmation of this, we got to watch out for it. But we brought this up a couple of times today. Remember the news yesterday with Putin? He said he is going to come out with a list of industries, commodities, and people affected. So that's what we're waiting on. But some people suspected uranium was going to be on the Russian side. So if we go a step earlier, we will see what happens. But that was a very big piece of news. And then Amazon, they announced a 20-for-1 stock split. And on top of it, they announced a $10 billion buyback plan. So remember, after the last earnings, they did a $1 billion buyback plan. But that was the last time they did a buyback since, I believe, 2014 or 2015. So that was a good sign. This is even bigger, 24-1. It's going to bring the stock below 150. I don't think there's any update as far as the dates. We'll probably get that, or if you know it, post it below in the comments. But people are talking about the reason, and some people are saying now it's probably a broader compensation change at Amazon rather than having another purpose. So we will see. The stock went up 10%. Difference is we don't have earnings or anything else. Again, remember last time we had Amazon earnings around the last CPI, so we will see what happens. But there was that, and then if you saw the crypto space today, any of the crypto stocks and even crypto, it actually held up too. But this was off of the news in the morning that there was an executive order on crypto for like digital currencies. Some people are saying, or a lot of people are saying, it will provide regulatory clarity for investors. That's why they're taking it as bullish. I think it's kind of scary for the crypto space, but but we will see what happens with it. But keep your eye on crypto again. A lot of people have been reacting to these headlines, so we will see what happens. But there was that. And then finally, this is related to a lot of the Ukraine headlines that we got this morning, but Ukraine said this is through the aid. He reiterated a lot of what Zelensky said on Monday, but they said that Ukraine is open to neutrality, but they reject ceding territory. And then Zelensky also said that Putin is weak if he is resorting to saying he's going to nuke us. So that one was pretty interesting, but there was that. Everything else was about commodities. Again, the other big story and what's going on is the LME and the Chinese investor he's down like 12 billion, but they are not margin calling him. It's very, very interesting. There's that. The price of all the grains moving. Some people are saying the ships are moving, and if you didn't see that today, definitely come on stream and we'll talk about it. But we have a way to pretty much monitor a lot of what's going on with the wheat and commodity trade through the boats, and people are talking about the ships moving, but here's the thing, they're going back and forth to each other, and they're not really like exporting, and a lot of the wheat specific boats, they are still docked. So keep this in mind. Again, ask questions if you have it. It's pretty crazy, but there was all of that. It's going to be straightforward. Tomorrow you have your catalyst. Powell is next week, and then before you know it, the first quarter is over and everybody's getting ready for the end of the first half. So I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different stacks that I'm looking at coming in today, but we did make a couple of plays, and I took profit on that Piedmont, the PLL. They have earnings tomorrow. I did not know that, so keep that in mind. But as far as the first play, it's related to uranium, and we already have that okay, 4 U's. We already have that one, but EXC, this one came up on the scanner again, one of those not so active options, and it came in with a big order. I think it represents notional value of like 20 or 60 million. I'll have to double check, but it was a big play, but the timing of it was very trippy. Essentially, I made the play about a minute or two before any of the sanction news drop, and I think the play came in like 3 hours before that. So here is the play, EXC. I grabbed 2 different contracts. I grabbed a large quantity and I grabbed 20 of the 55s, but you got to be careful here because you'll notice they got really cheap over here because it went from $1 increments to $5 increments between 50 and 55. So it's a lot further than you think, even though it's close. So I got those if there is any volatility, then the news. But then I also grabbed one of the at the monies for like $1.20. But this play, they provide nuclear energy and stuff. They also have a spinoff and they have their earnings coming up in May, but they are related to uranium and nuclear power. And the one thing I've liked about it, you can kind of see here, it's held up throughout all of this. It's kind of slipped over the last few days. That's why I was like, well, this one could be decent. You could see the chain is just relatively dead, and even then, all of these trades, they were pretty much already up for the most part. Again, the spreads are wild. Kind of reminded me of Piedmont a little bit in the sense that most of the contract spreads are really expensive and really wide, so that was it, but it's related to uranium, and what my logic is that I think they could benefit for it in the short term, but eventually, if any of the material costs go too high, some of these companies start to get clapped, so I think it could be good. We're watching out for that. We still have that old other uranium play, so that's going to be good. I haven't looked too much into the uranium, but again, Russia's responsible for a lot of supply. We'll see how it plays, but that's why too, the next levels of escalation or de-escalation, that's really going to point to a lot of these, but this one was key. It did go crazy there at the end of the day. Everybody was calling out the uranium play, so shout out to the chat, baby, but there was that. That's the first play. Then coming into the second play, Uber, I made a play on this and we'll go over it, but assuming there is no escalation tomorrow and things don't get worse, the volatility or the CPI makes everything come down and there is a continued bounce, I think Uber is primed to go. And literally, it's just had a bunch of good news over the last couple days and the analyst tide is turning. You had good guidance from the CEO. They changed some of the expected numbers, and then some of the analysts, they're saying they like it. The price is low now, hasn't been here in a couple years, so a lot of people are looking at it. I thought I'd make a small play, and don't forget, we have this one in the long term, and like we've been talking about, we got our dividends, so pretty much like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, once the next deposit comes in, any of these growth plays, if they stay down, I mean, it could be good, so gonna be watching out for it, but I just bought these 2 plays, pretty much the same price. I got them in the morning, and again, a lot of this spreads, you'll notice, the bids will be low. That's why you should look at the last trade, but then the asks, they are staying high. But but I just grabbed 2 of these in the morning for about like 50 cents. Nothing too crazy, $100. Thought I'd get exposure in the morning, especially with how things were moving, but they went up a little bit and then it came right back down. So we will see how that one plays out. But like I'm saying, depending on what is going on in the market and all of that, I really think Uber is going to be primed to go. And then finally, Amazon. Again, remember what happened there with Google. That's what I'm worried about. But if the market's feeling good after the CPI and all of that, there may be an opportunity to kind of get the continuation. But we need that rotation out of energy and into tech to really kick things into gear. And CPI can't freak everybody out. So we will see what happens. But those are the main plays. As far as everything else, I made a play on FXI, and I got 1 week after April 14th, April 22nd. This one came up on the scanner. It's going after the mega cap China plays. I mean, it looks like it's been crushed. I saw one of these big orders, and you could see this chain is relatively dead, but I think it is also because of the expiration. You can see there's a lot more activity there on the April, so I thought it'd be a good one there. I saw it was cheap. I grabbed 4 of the 36 calls for about 25 cents, just about $100. So we'll see what happens with that one. And then I also made a play on NVIDIA. This one got clapped like $20. It wasn't too bad, but my timing was awful. Like, I literally grabbed it in the morning. I did wait till it came down from like 190 and it went to like 140. I grabbed one of the NVIDIA puts, and this one here is for May at 130, super far out the money. And the whole logic with it was I was like $100. Anything with the chips, if we get any escalation that starts to affect that, I think it'll be negative. Again, we talked about it today with NVIDIA. I just picked it because it's volatile and it can move a lot. But in general, if anything was going to happen escalation-wise, I am expecting some companies are going to be big winners and some are going to be big losers. So we'll see what happens. But we got that play. That one went down. And then the only other play I made today, I got rid of the Piedmont. Remember, we had October, had a lot of time on it, and it was a great play. But I was like, well, earnings and all that. Damn, did it go in the money? Damn, that's crazy. But I sold out of this one at like 14.80. It's going there for like 15 to 16.60 right there. And it was about 100%. We bought these at like $7 a couple of days ago. I think that was us right there. You could see it. So absolute killer play. Just it's a beautiful chart to look at. Congrats if you hit it, and good luck on the earnings tomorrow. But as far as everything else, I want to watch Coca-Cola again. The food stuff, it all depends on the escalation and what we got. But a lot of the premiums, they were still pretty high, relatively speaking. Again, a lot of the premiums were just like we were here. Remember all of those weeks where it's like, okay, it's coming down and then it goes up, but like the premiums are the same price as the day before. So you have to deal with that. That's why I didn't strike on them today, but I really liked it. Watch financials. JPM bounced really good, but watch all the other banks, see what they start to do. Again, McDonald's, they are coming down. People are even talking about their assets getting nationalized. They have a lot there, and they have a lot of money coming out there from Russia. So there was that. But again, same situation as the Coca-Cola or even the Kellogg's. Again, that's another one. I don't have it on there, but watch Kellogg's. That's an interesting one to watch. Again, FXI. This is the China one. We're going to see what happens with that. And then UUU, if the EXC doesn't hit, we got a little bit of this, and we'll see if this ends up going crazy. But watch them. And then Lockheed, they kind of came back today. Surprised it closed red, but we'll see if it starts to chill up here. This is just going to be another one of these stages. The question is, how long does it take till the next escalation? And then is there de-escalation that brings it down a notch? So we will see what happens. But watch them. Watch Asana. They got clobbered on earnings. I'm sorry, Dustin, but maybe there could be a good post-earnings play. I'd keep my eye on that. Airbnb and even Booking. Again, any of the travel plays, they had a big recovery today, and this could be very, very key. So depending on how things play out, I'm definitely going to be watching these. And like we said with even like Uber, these are all at buy targets for the long term. Again, we're just waiting, and if they stay this low for long enough and it's not just a fluke, we're going to have a lot to choose from. So keep your eye on them. B&O, the plays went down. Again, there's going to be a lot of oil volatility. Like I said the other day, great time to ghetto spread up there. I decided not to do it, but I'm still holding these. Again, I think oil is going to play out just like it did with the whole Omicron wave. So that's wheat futures. Oh yeah, they got halted limit down. Plays are still up 600 as well too. But let me take you here to the oil chart. You'll see what I'm talking about. This right here was November, and this was Omicron, and this was a big candle. And remember, they talked it down a little bit before, but this was a big drop. It caused a lot of volatility, kind of bottomed out there for 5, 6, 7 days. Then it leveled out around a range for another 6 or 7 days, and then everything proceeded to continue as normal. So like I'm saying here, I think this is going to have a big impact, and I'm only saying that because this was a big candle. Something definitely got snapped today. This was enough momentum. You could blame the times and how everything is moving, but I think it's going to take some time. So still holding those. Again, we got a couple of more months on there, so watch out for that. Again, keep your eye on the wheat plays as well too. Coinbase for any of the crypto, again, if they do come up, but we'll see what happens. And then again, back to the wheat, like we're saying, the calls are still up around like 580, 600%. The puts got clobbered, and now I'm just waiting. This is what we wanted now. It's going to hold one of these levels, but like I said, we're watching the boats. We know the seasonality and everything else. I'm assuming this is going to stay stable to a degree. Otherwise, we will see what happens. It goes from there, but this is going to depend on all the other commodities as well. But there is a very unique fundamental situation with wheat, and it does have to do with those boats moving. So keep that in mind. And then finally, TLT and the dollar, you're right at the lows. I've already showed you the Fed futures chart. Question is, does CPI smash this tomorrow? This could be our leading indicator. We will see what happens, but any lower than here could set off a different wave of things. But if it bounces, it could buy some time to Powell. So we'll see what happens, and I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shine. I need you to remember, you just got to have the rhythm, baby. Stay on beat. But Nicole loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.